Hello, Tom, and hello, Allison. One thing I got to say is thank you for being on camera. 90% of the people are not on camera, and I like people. Now, I feel like I miss out when I don't get to see their faces. So, thank you for that. We'll kill a little time here before we get started. Let a few more people join. Um, while we're getting started, would you guys mind doing me a favor? If you can find the chat in the meeting, should be down at the bottom of Zoom. Would you mind telling me where you're located? Like what state or city and state? And this is not so informal that if you want to come off mute and talk, you can definitely talk. Are you guys, you're both in Ohio. Is that you not with the same agency?
No. No.
Oh, okay. Interesting. And another minute or two here. Woodbridge, Virginia. So, um, Woodbridge, our daughter, and TJ, our daughter is in the Coast Guard, one of our daughters, and she's lived in Woodbridge for the last 4 years, and she just got promoted to an officer a few weeks ago, and she just a few weeks ago moved to Houston. But we've been to Woodbridge many times, and we always flew into um, Manassas Airport there. So I really like Woodbridge, Virginia. All right. We've got a few more people that have not commented yet. So if you have joined and you've not commented yet to say where you are, please do that. And there should be some other people joining soon. Hey, Joe, since you're not muted, I'll ask you. I mean, Tom, did you get a reminder for this meeting like today or not? I don't think reminders went out about this meeting.
I didn't get a reminder from you guys, but
Oh,
my calendar brought it up.
yeah, I'm with you. That's the way I live my life is my calendar. So, yeah, I don't think and there's so Allison is in South Carolina. What part of South Carolina, Allison?
I'm in Inman, South
Okay.
Carolina.
Okay. Cool. All right. So we'll get started, and some other people I think are going to be joining us, and I need to make sure I'm watching to let them in. So we're going to be talking about how much you should spend on marketing. I do recommend that you get and have a pen and paper handy because um, this is going to be a little more workshoppy and not just a presentation. So there'll be some things that you'll want to do some calculations on. Um, and I wanted to show this. This was not part of the slide until the other day. We got feedback from a customer. It was ironic. We got about three really flattering feedback from three agencies in one day. And I'll tell you what my point in showing you this is. But this person says, honestly, I could not be happier with Genesis management system and handling our website. Yeah, one amazing staff as well. Um, that's from a longtime Genesis software customer and a longtime Genesis digital customer where we do their website and everything. The reason I'm showing it to you is it plays in to marketing, what this is talking about today, is I just want to show you what I did. First of all, I just threw this our why because this is when we get this kind of stuff, we share it on our internal chat
Eddie,
system. Yes.
yeah, I'm not seeing your screen.
Oh, there.
There you go.
Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, so this is a review. And by the way, when the person sent us, I think this one was not on Google. I think this one came in an email. And I copy and pasted it, put it in Chat GPT, by the way, and I said, give me a nice looking image. And I thought Chat GPT did a great job of putting our logo there, one of our logos, and putting this in there. So that was cool. So I'm just sharing this with you that this is our why. We get excited when people like what we do, um, when we feel like we've succeeded in helping them be better. I'm also showing it to you thinking about marketing because I put it in Chat GPT. I think we should all be using Chat GPT for all kinds of things. And it created this very quickly, and I think it looks good. It might have not created it perfectly the first time. I think like some of this stuff was out at the bottom here, and I had to tell it, you got to reposition it and get everything in the block. But then I want to show you how I went out to the Genesis Facebook page and I posted this little image out to Genesis Facebook. So in an agency, you need to be doing that kind of stuff too. Then I went to my personal Facebook page because I've got a lot of friends, because I've been in this business 30 plus years. I've got a lot of Facebook friends that are insurance agency owners and employees of agencies. So I shared it, and added a little comment. We're blessed with amazing customers. So I just when this came in last week, I thought I'm going to add that to the webinar because I wanted to remind you guys, when somebody says something flattering about your agency, first of all, enjoy it. You've worked hard for them to be saying nice things about you, and then repurpose that and use it for your marketing. Real quick, you've already done some of this. I'm going to send a gift to everybody that's on this webinar at the end of this, at the end of the webinar. This webinar will take about 30 minutes, give or take. If you would write the word, partly I'm going to keep you engaged. I want you to keep commenting in chat. Put the word gift in the chat if you would like me to send you a free gift at the end of this webinar. Most of you, if you've not already put, I think we've had 1 or 2 people join us since the others have done this. Thank you, thank you, thank you. On the gifts, if you've not already put where you're located, please put where you're calling from, what state or city and state that you're calling from. It's just interesting to me to know where people are from. I would like to know, I've never asked this before, is this your first, so all you have to do is put the word first or not first. Is this your first Genesis webinar, or this is not your first Genesis webinar? That's interesting to me. Frank, Melbourne, Florida. My wife and I spend 1 week every month in Melbourne, Florida. We should connect. We have a boat that we keep at the Melbourne Harbor Marina. I know every restaurant and every bar in Melbourne, Florida. We were there last week, all week, every month. So first, cool, not first. All right. And almost done. I think I've got 5 questions here. Would you put yes or no, if you're a Genesis customer, just put the word yes. Yes, I'm a Genesis customer. Or no, I'm not a Genesis customer. It's just interesting for me to be able to kind of, as I frame things and talk to people, what I'm doing. And you don't have to put this one, because I put this one in there, and I don't know, this one could be hard. If you want to share what you hope to learn, we'd love to see it. I've got other Genesis team members on this call, so we're kind of looking at the notes here. And plus, if you put in there what you do want to learn, might help us kind of answer those questions as we go through. So that's the majority of the things at the moment, at least. I may have some more in a minute that I want you to post there. 3 bullet points that I pulled out here that I wanted to mention. Marketing is not an expense, it's an investment, meaning that we need to get a return. An expense might be a light bill, and I guess you could argue, well, you get lights, so I guess you get a return on everything you spend, maybe. But we definitely want to think of marketing as an investment, and the more we put out, ideally, the more you're getting back. There is a point, we'll talk about it in a few minutes, the point of diminishing returns, like with anything. To exercise 2 minutes a week is not enough. To exercise an hour a day is probably plenty. Maybe 30 minutes a day is plenty. To exercise 6 hours a day, 7 days a week, diminishing returns, probably bad for you. So investment's the same way with marketing, and we'll talk about that a little more. You can overspend and waste money, especially in the wrong things. Agencies that do not market are just relying on hope, and we think that's risky, and we've seen it be risky. Agencies that consistently invest in growth will grow 2 to 3 times faster than agencies that are not investing in a smart way in marketing. At the end of this webinar, and please remind me if I forget to share this with you. I thought about this. I didn't put a slide in because I only thought about this morning. I've been doing Genesis for 24 years. I started in the insurance agency business 30 years ago, 32 or 3 years ago, ran several agencies for 27 years. At the end of this webinar, I do want to spend a couple of minutes. I'm going to tell you exactly how much money we spend on marketing at Genesis and where we spend it, what percentage of our revenue that is. I'll be very transparent about that. And I'll tell you what I did in my 27 years of agency ownership. I'll share. I would have put that in a slide, but it didn't even dawn on me till this morning. Common mistakes that people make with marketing strategy is spending without tracking results, over investing in one channel only, kind of what I said a minute ago, overdoing it in one area, and then neglecting the customer experience and retention marketing. I see agencies kind of either be too extreme here and nothing on marketing, or all marketing and not here. But if we include this under mistakes that agencies make, I think what we're saying there is that agencies that are so focused on growth and new business and take the eye off the ball with customer happiness and retention, then it's an imbalanced growth model. The balanced growth model is the one that's spending what we're going to talk about in a few minutes, how to decide how much you're going to invest in marketing, how to track those results, but you're also investing time and money in making sure you're providing an amazing service for your customers, far better than anyone else, not just a little better, but far better. And that your retention is where you want it, whether you're at 90% and you want to be at 92% renewal retention, or you're at 95%, you want to be at 96. Here is the marketing growth funnel. We're almost ready to start talking numbers here in a second. Use your pads and your notepads and do some calculations. But I wanted to kind of set this up. The stages of marketing start with awareness, and we'll talk about this in a moment, but that's things like SEO, search engine optimization, your website being built and continuing to be refined every month in ways that make you visible to people that don't know you now. So awareness is when you move from people who don't know who you are to where you move to,
you know what?
say,
Don't even have to watch it. The reason being is it's being recorded.
And then things like ads and social media can also create awareness. After awareness, we hope they become a lead. So people become aware of you, and then they become a lead. So they may not be a qualified lead yet, but they're a lead. Now they're going to potentially be reacting on your website, landing pages if you have those, and you can be part of your email marketing model. Hey, Lisa, would you mind closing the door with me? Then the next stage after leads is prospect. The lead becomes hopefully a qualified prospect. So they go through maybe landing pages, they understand what kind of insurance you're selling and think they need to talk to you, and then they become a prospect. That's where you're going to be following up with them, and you're going to be using tools like your agency management system and your CRM. And then the hope is that they become a client and that we retain them a long time, and that they give you referrals. That's the cycle we're looking for, all the way from them not knowing you and then becoming aware, all the way down to them. So what we're going to talk about today are the marketing strategies that play into each one of these. And most agencies, most businesses, there's something always broken. It may be customer service, you may be understaffed, you may not have a carrier that you need or carriers, or you may not have enough leads coming in. Your retention may not be right. Something's usually not where you want it. Sometimes it's more than one thing. But whatever's broken, so like if you're not getting enough leads, it's because there's not enough awareness. So that's where you want to invest your time and money, is fixing that problem. And we've had experiences even here at Genesis where we would take our eye off one ball, quit investing in it, quit spending time on it, to focus on another ball, maybe closing ratio, and then we get that where we want it. And then it's like the whack-a-mole thing. Then you realize, oh my gosh, now the leads have started slowing down because we took the eye off the ball there and we're not investing. So this is where it gets interesting to me. How much do we want to spend? Industry benchmarks based on research, based on ChatGPT, and this has honestly been what I've seen for 30 years, is that marketing investment is going to be between 5 and 10% of your revenue. not your premium, but your revenue. That revenue is obviously commission in states or in agencies that charge fees. That's included that on top of that as well. All the money coming into your business that you're taking home as profit, paying team members, paying your bills, that total revenue, somewhere between 5 and 10% tends to be where agencies are spending their money on marketing. And I'll go a little deeper and help us refine that in a moment. So it's not that pretty big range of 5 to 10%. I'll also mention that growth-oriented agencies typically are 10 to 15%. And here's where I see this the most applicable. If you've been around a long time and your revenue is $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, big agencies, then you're not that you're not growth-oriented, but you're probably not going to be spending 10 or 15%. You probably don't need to spend 10 or 15% of your revenue. If you're a small agency, then you probably need to spend 10 or 15% of your revenue. If you are obviously not growing as fast as much as you want to, and if your revenue is already small because you're just starting out, or you've only been in business a year or two, your revenue is $100,000 or less, or $200,000 even or less, then that 10 or 15% is where you're probably going to want to be. So let's do some examples. And I like to work with a 10% actually because it's such an easy number to work with. If your agency is at $500,000 a year in revenue, I'm going to make this simple and kind of skip the 5 to 10%. I'll just go over here to the 50,000. So 10% of 500,000 is 50,000. That'd be the annual budget. So that's what, $4,000 a month. Is that right? Yeah, $4,000 a month if you were at the 10%. And one last thing. And when I saw this the other day, as I was doing my research to put this together, I thought about this analogy as well. When someone wants to lose weight, and they're not happy with the weight they are now, and they're eating X number of calories on average every day, there's a diet that has less calories in it, that if they go from 3,000 calories a day, let's say to 2, that's going to get them from this weight down to that weight. Now, when they get down to that weight, they will stabilize and they'll stay at that weight. If they're going to go any lower, they would have to cut the calories again. Same thing is true with people trying to gain muscle mass or get bigger. They eat protein and they consume calories based on where they want to be, not where they are right now. So marketing is the same way. If you're a $100,000 agency and you want to be a $200,000 agency, I would encourage you to think about this 5, 10, or 15% as it relates to where you want to go, not necessarily where you are now. So if you want to go from 100,000 to 200,000 or $500,000 to $1 million, then try as best you can to budget and carve out those dollars for that growth plan based on where you want to go. That's what this last comment here says, not just your current revenue, but your growth goals. So first exercise, let's write this down. Things happen better when we write things down. Write down your agency's annual revenue. And Genesis people, you should do it for Genesis as best you can remember. I know sometimes we in our team meetings will say, what's our annual revenue? And people are like, I don't know. But you could write it down too. I think that'd be fun. What do you think the Genesis revenue is? And you other folks, put down what your current agency revenue is annually. Not your premium, but your revenue. And then do a 5% and do that calculation, and 10% and 15%. So let's get 3 numbers. So let's get $3 amounts that's annual expense that you would potentially be investing in marketing. Because in a minute, where we're going to go is where you're going to spend this money. And while you're calculating that up, do your calculator, whatever you've got to do there to get that up. And actually, when you're done, would you just put in chat, done? Take your time though and do it. I was talking to someone this morning. Oh, shoot, lost my train of thought. I'll just wait for you guys to finish that. Tell me when you're done with the calculation, but take your time. I'm in no hurry. I wish I could think of what I was going to say a second ago, because it was a conversation I had in a meeting before this meeting that related to what this step number 2 that we're talking about. All right. TJ is done. Tom is done. Everybody take your time and finish up as best you can. The next thing that I'd like you to do is you are going to have 3 numbers. Done. Thank y'all. You're going to have 3 numbers on your notepad. Not that this is going to be the perfect where you're going to end up. Circle the number that sits well with you. Circle the number you think, I'd like to spend this amount. If I could spend this amount, if I could carve it out, it doesn't affect my profitability, and hopefully it does the opposite. It affects your profitability in a positive way. I can afford to spend this much money. Let's circle one of those 3 numbers. So it's going to be the 5, 10, or the 15%, and whatever dollar amount that is for you. That's the one that sits well with you, that you think, I might could do that. Maybe it's a stretch, but I think I could probably do that. That's what the step 3 is there. Okay. So we're going to come back to that number in just a minute. So now we want to talk about where we want to spend this money. And I've divided this. Marketing is a little subjective. So these are Eddie's opinions. And it's the Genesis digital team that we have here that they are experts in marketing. And I've been doing this kind of stuff 30 years. Not sure I don't know when you ever become an expert. But these are my beliefs of the top 4 tiers, and the first tier being the must-haves. So we'll go through each one of these. And there's only 2 or 3 per tier that I think are must-haves. The number one thing I believe you need to have is a good website, not a 5 or 10-year-old website, not one that hasn't been updated or improved lately. You need to have a good website, and there needs to have been search engine optimization work done on it recently. Ideally monthly, but for tier 1, in the last year, somebody needs to have reviewed that website, gone in and made the changes needed. Because if the website if it's been built like on GoDaddy or Wix and nobody's really done the SEO, then it's not getting a lot of results anyway. Even if it was done well, but it was done well 3 years ago, then you need to have someone take a look at that. So the most important thing in the must-haves on tier 1, in my opinion, is a website that's getting results. People are visiting the site, and you're checking that. Hopefully whoever manages your site's meeting with you monthly or quarterly, and you're looking at the traffic go up on your website. The next thing is your Google Business Profile. So this used to be called Google My Business. They changed it a couple of years ago to Google Business Profile. So this is what you see when you Google a business name. If you've not claimed it, then it needs to be claimed. It needs photographs on it. It needs the listing of the kind of insurance that you sell on it. There's a place specific for that. You need to be getting reviews on that, because if people look at your Google Business Profile and you have 11 reviews and they're getting 1 or 2 a year, then that's not good for you. So this is an essential. It's tier 1, a must-have, that your Google Business Profile needs to be claimed, optimized, and working well. Brand presence, to me, is pretty simple. It's, if you've not already said, here's our color scheme, that's important. The details of being successful are important in every aspect of business and life. So brand presence is your logo, not one that you just made yourself, unless you're really good, unless you're a graphic artist. Most of us are not. I would never do my own logo. My first logo at Genesis, which was, this is fun. I hadn't thought about this. This Genesis up here, before the days of Genesis Digital, with the little line up here, I paid $500 for that in 1999, I think. Just that part right there. But that was many, many years ago. Honestly, you can get a logo cheaper now than you could then. But brand presence is that. Do you feel like your website, color scheme, maybe even the t-shirts or shirts that you wear, golf shirts or whatever, maybe on a Friday that has your logo on it on the weekends, does all this stuff blend and brand well for your agency? So that's it for tier 1. So what you want to do so far, I'm going to go to tier 2, 3, and 4, maybe just a touch quicker, but put a check beside these if you think it's dialed in, it needs no improvement. Put an X beside it if you think got a little work to do here. So take a second, and beside these 3 things, put a check that You know, if you can check all three of those off, then you're moving on to tier 2. If not, that's okay. That just means you're not going to spend much time right now over the next few months in tier 2, 3, or 4. You're going to get the basics squared away and invest your money there, the money that we've already talked about. So tier 2, SEO and content. So let's assume, and today I'll go ahead and give you a little sneak preview in a minute. We're going to pick 2 or 3 things to focus on at the end of this workshop. But so if you've got an X by all 3 of those, that's probably where that's enough to do the rest of this last quarter of the year. But if you've got at least one of these checked off, then you might want to invest more money in SEO and content being blogs, updates to the website frequently that Google likes. We are starting to get referrals now. No, I'm sorry, not referrals. We're starting to get business at Jenesis from ChatGPT. That's only started this year. Before that, it was Google, that kind of thing, where we get most of our customers. And so that's going to be true with you too. You're either already getting some leads from ChatGPT, or that will become more, and other AI sources. And this SEO and content down here is 100% what feeds AI. So it's critical for you moving forward with the world of AI that you have enough good content to rank well on Google and to show up in the AI search engines. After SEO and content is social media, just making sure you're posting. I will encourage you, if you're not posting now, please post something every day, and try to be just real. You know, one of the best things we did in our agencies years ago is we had these signs made that said different things, like "I love Carolina Insurance" and had a heart on it, or might have said "I heart," and a few other signs. And now you can chat GPT and say, "Give me some good signs." We had those signs made, and then once we'd get a new customer or a renewal or a favorite customer, we'd say, "Would you mind holding this sign up? We'll take a picture of it and we'll put it on Facebook." So they loved it. Some didn't, but most people were cool with that. And we would try to get our picture with them, and that shows a real personal touch. I think that's better on social media than posting how to save money or what deductible you should have. I think the average consumer out there is not going to spend a whole lot of time reading your articles or your comments about what deductibles they should have. Make it fun, make it social. It's social media. Make it social. And you don't need a marketing agency or other people to do all of that for you. The best social media marketing is done by the person. And then the last one is email marketing. If you haven't gotten 3 X's already, and if you've only got 2 X's so far, and email marketing could be one of them, you could put an X down here. That's where you're going to start doing things where you've got your customer database, you're having email sequences to go out, like you guys got emails about this webinar, things like that. That's very organized and structured. Tier 3 acceleration. Now we're getting in once all this is done, and my money says not many of us on this call, pretty much present company included, is going to need to be focusing in over here right now. Most people still need work over here, but paid ads like Google ads, social media, Meta, Facebook ads, video marketing, that's powerful. Community and video marketing, you can do a lot of that yourself. We tend to use people that know what they're doing a little more, to specialize in that, to coach us along the way. Community sponsorships, but I wouldn't be out doing Little League sponsorships personally until I get these other things checked off. Tier 4, AI and automation. And last one is retargeting campaigns. And for those of you who don't know, retargeting is when someone visits your website, and then now you show up everywhere that they go, on Facebook and other places. And we've all done that. You've seen people, you've been talking about a business or a brand or a product, or you visited their website, and now it follows you around the internet. So that's retargeting, and that's just a technical thing that can be done. It's not all that expensive, but I'm including it down here in tier 4. Any questions, thoughts, comments so far? You can unmute, or you can post them in chat, and the Genesis team, if you'll look at that for me, to see if anybody does have anything as we move on from this. So hopefully you've got these things written down, and you've got X's and checks. And once you have 3 X's, that'd be cool. I would still go ahead and do if there's others that are, but if my guess is that if you've got 2 or 3 checks in the first tier 1 and tier 2, that tier 3 is probably definitely doesn't, it's not checked. So now let's do exercise 2. Where do we want to spend the money? Go back and look at your list that we just did. So you're seeing that. You've got your X's and your checks. And let's put a number, 1, 2, and 3. Let's rank 1, 2, 3 of the top 3 in the order that you assume at the moment you might want to tackle. So take a second and do that. Top 1, 2, or 3. You kind of be finishing that up because what we're identifying, we know how much money we're going to spend. And now we're figuring out the top 3 things that we're going to focus on at this point that we've not implemented yet. Now, some of those we may have implemented. So let's say that you checked your website, that you felt like your website was getting tons of leads every day, every week. You're happy with that. You think a lot of people are visiting it. It's growing, so the SEO must be good. And you checked it off. Then you could also, on your notepad, you could write down a website that it's good, or even on the original screen, if you've already got it checked, beside it, put the money that you're spending on that website right now. So if it's $200 a month, $400 a month, $800 a month for SEO, or whatever it may be, because the money we're talking about spending, you're already spending some of that. So if you just decided a moment ago that you needed to spend $1,000 or $2,000 or $5,000 a month in marketing, you're already spending something. So on your sheet, put down how many dollars that you're already spending on those things if you're already doing them, because you're probably spending money somewhere. And these percentages are not what's important. I wouldn't, you can take a screenshot with your phone, snapshot with your phone if you'd like, but that the percentages are not important. These can go, you could spend 0 money on digital ads and be fine right now if you need to be spending money on the other things. The point is to kind of list everything that you are spending, how much and what percentage of that is your revenue, or what percentage of that is your total marketing spend. All right, last exercise is exercise 3, the budget allocation. So use your percentage from step 1, the one that's set well with you. This is how much money I think I probably should be spending on marketing. And then look at the allocate across the 3 existing marketings of the top channels. So you've got X number of dollars, and you've got maybe 3 things that you've just identified. These are the next 3 things that I need to invest best money in. You've also written down just a second ago what you're already spending money in. So if you said my marketing needs to be $2,000 a month, if you're already spending $1,000, then you've only got $1,000 more. Where are you going to spend that other $1,000? If you need to get up to that $2,000, you're only spending $1,000. Where are you going to spend that among those other 3 things? The 2 or 3 things that you've just written down that need some improvement. You know, we've been doing Genesis for 25 years. I mean, it's never done. We can do this exercise just like anyone else, and I don't think you're ever done. And even once you finally get good at spending the budget you want to spend, and you do it a long time, you've got to do it a while. You can't just spend money on marketing for a month or 2. I mean, we've done it for years. You'll change what you're spending it on. The money may not go up. Money may even come down. We'll talk about that. All right, so write down the amounts. So now you've got the 2 or 3 things, and hopefully you've got an idea. You may be wrong on the idea, on the money you're going to spend, because you may be guessing right now. You may not know what SEO costs, or you may not know what some of this other stuff costs. So this is just a quick action checklist. This is a summary. We've calculated 10 to 15% revenue. We've prioritized, hopefully, foundation 1, that tier 1. We've allocated our investment across 2 to 3 new marketing channels. We won't do that here, but it is important to set your KPIs. You want to know your cost per lead. You want to know the cost for acquisition, for customer acquisition cost, and the conversion rate. And conversion rate here is if X number of people go to your website, how many people are clicking on something. If 1,000 people every month go to your website, nobody clicks on something at all to get a lead magnet or to ask for a quote, then somebody needs to make some improvements to that site. And then this bullet point just says it's really important Many insurance agencies, and this is a good thing, they're so focused on staying current with their CE, taking care of this 3 or 4 customers that's got some outstanding claims issues, all the things that the agents are staying focused on, and they tend to not focus enough on this piece. I personally don't think an insurance agency owner or team members should be the marketing department. I think they should be quoting insurance, being good at insurance, serving customers. But somebody in the agency needs to be paying attention to how these metrics are playing out. So at least every 90 days, they need to sit down and look at the results, and or if you're using a marketing agency, sit down and talk to them. So essentially what you should have in front of you, albeit kind of crude probably on a notepad, is a draft marketing budget based on your revenue. You should have a ranked list of your 3 primary channels and other ideas for later, and the draft allocation plan for your budget. So the next step is just to refine your plan, track your ROI. Of course, the plug here is that Jenesis Digital, division of Jenesis Software, it can help with that. I will mention, we do all these things for people, but we're also happy to have a conversation absolutely free with anyone, anytime. Well, not anytime, we have to schedule it. But if you have questions that we can help you with, we really like this stuff, and we'll be glad to sit down and talk to anyone. And anything that you want to do it yourself on that you're qualified to do, we're happy to point you in the right direction. This bullet point just says that we help insurance agencies build a growth-focused marketing plan, optimized agency presence, automate and track ROI, schedule a call a day. So only comment I'll make there, people on this call in sales like Joe, Christy, Jenna at genesissoftware.com. Reach out to them if you have questions. We'll be glad to help you in any way we can. I want to tell you my quick story about how much money we spend now at Jenesis on marketing and what we spend it on, and what I did when I was an agency. And I'll talk about the gift. You can be writing down my email address at the bottom of this if you like, eddie@genesissoftware.com, because I'd like you to send me an email and say, I'd like a gift. And I'm going to send everybody on the call. You don't have to, and it's not going to be a gift. For those of you, I know several of you have not attended these before. When I'm here, I like to give a gift something you get in the mail. It's not a downloadable PDF about how to sell insurance. Real quick. Typically, when I first started my agency, the first one I started from 0. So my marketing spend that first year, I did the calculations this morning driving down the road because I didn't plan this, and if I had I'd put it in the slide. My first year of owning an agency, it was just me. I was the only employee for most of that first year. I spent 30% on marketing. That's a lot as a percentage, but it wasn't a lot of money because I wasn't making any money. Month 1, I made 0 money. The next month, I made a few hundred. The next month, I don't know if I got to 1,000 or not, but it took a while, So I spent 30% that first year, maybe a little less the second year. It kind of went down over time. But in the majority of that time in the agency, at my peak, when I had 4 locations, this was around 2000 to 2010. Revenue at each of those 4 locations was about $300,000. I had a couple locations that were about $200,000 a year revenue, and one that was $300,000. I had 2 or 3 employees, typically having about 1 employee per $100,000 worth of revenue. So those agencies were $2 and $3 million agencies, each of the 4. I would spend approximately $2,000 a month, maybe as low as $1,000, but around $2,000 normally in my marketing. Back then, it was Yellow Pages, and the Yellow Pages was the majority of that expense because we were number 1 in the Yellow Pages. But my point is, a $20,000 a month income in those agencies, I was spending about $2,000 a month in marketing, so 10%. I never dropped below 10%. That's the agency. Here, thank you, Tom. At Jenesis, it's a little different. So when I started Jenesis, again from scratch in the mid-90s, late 90s, I really didn't spend any much money the first couple of years because I didn't think it was a business. People kind of heard about me accidentally. But then when I started attending trade shows, building websites, spending money on SEO for websites and doing all those things that we do to attract insurance agencies. For several years, we spent 10%. When our revenue hit 1 million in annual revenue at Jenesis, well, not that many years ago, we probably started dropping a little below 10%. By the time we got to 2 million, we dropped down to about 7 or 8%. By the time we got to right now, we're at about $4 million a year in annual revenue at Jenesis, and we spend about 4%, which, by the way, is $15,000 a month. Our budget right now is $15,000 a month, but that's only 4%. So I tell you all that, number one, to be transparent. Number two, to say that when your agency's smaller and you're trying to get somewhere, I think you have to spend more. And if you keep, I know what I was going to say earlier that somebody said this morning. When agencies look at their finances and they say, oh my gosh, 10% is X number of dollars, I can't afford to spend that. You really need to get some help with analyzing the profit and loss statement. And the person that I was talking to this morning said what they saw happen a lot was agency owners tended to hire too many people too quick sometimes, or overpay them. And so instead of an agency that should be, let's say, 50% payroll, revenue to payroll, they might get at 60 to 70% payroll. And if that's true, yes, it becomes hard to carve out that 10% or certainly 15%. But if you can't carve out the right amount of money for the marketing, then I would look carefully at what other expenses you have. Again, I love that kind of stuff. Happy to help and give advice anywhere I can. Okay. So you're ready to send me. So Tom has said. So Tom was disconnected. Frank was disconnected. I don't know if he's coming back or if he's back. Oh yeah, Frank's back. Okay. It's connecting to audio now, I think. Anyone who's not put helpful or not helpful, I see that Tom read ahead and went ahead and did it. He's a good student. Put helpful or not helpful. Not helpful will not hurt my feelings. Don't think you have to be nice. As a matter of fact, not helpful will make me work harder. If you could say not helpful and say what you hope to get that you didn't, I would love that. That would be helpful. I want to send a gift, so you've got my email address there. I'm going to give you a few options for gifts. I've never done this before. At Jenesis a few years ago in our book club, we read this book called The Go-Giver. This book, and we've read it twice. I've read it twice in the last 10 years. It's a book talking about how instead of being a go-getter, when I was a kid or a young man, oh, he's a go-getter. He's a good businessman. He's a go-getter. But go-giver means you run your business by giving to people, by providing services. And it's a really, really good book. It's a parable, so it's telling a story. It's kind of fun. It's not clinical. I have, because these are my copies that I've gotten and read, and I've recently written a blog on this book. It's published on our website. If you would like a copy of this book, I've got 2 copies. When you send me that email, and don't send the email yet because I may get a couple more things I want to show you, but say I'd like a copy of The Go-Giver. I don't want to send it to somebody that doesn't want it. And if more than 2 people ask for it, then sorry, I'll flip a coin. But you probably won't be out of luck. The Go-Giver has a series. They've got another one called Sells More. This is the Go-Giver version for people wanting to learn how to sell using a Go-Giver mindset. This is so cool. And you should read my blog. Jenna, we probably should, the people attended here, maybe send them a link to the blogs and stuff. So if you'd rather have the original Go-Giver or the Go-Giver Sells More, and one final one, the Go-Giver Influencer. This is a book about being an influence. So there's 3 good Go-Giver books. If you do not want either one of those books, say, I'll be interested in a gift besides a book. Just if that book doesn't click, well, you're not a reader or something, just say, I'd like a gift, but not the book, then I'm going to send you a gift. And you'll probably get it next week. It'll come in the mail. Does anyone have any questions, thoughts, comments, feedback? Anything you learned that you like hearing or surprised or hadn't thought about it that way before? Okay. All right. Thanks you all for your time. Appreciate you being here. Hopefully this was not a waste of 45 minutes of your day because your time's important. And we can help you with anything at all. Please let us know. Take care, everybody.